All right. So my name is Jason Porter, and I lead the front-end team at Union working on FlyteConsole, and this is our second town hall. To get some context, the purpose of this, basically, we want to make sure we're building the right thing. So we have our roadmaps, we have our assumptions, but one of the really cool things about working open source is that we all have like a vested interest in how this shapes itself. So we wanted to give a platform for you guys to engage us and kind of give us your feedback, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, and kind of inform where you want this to go. Our last town hall was great, tons of feedback, and I want to leave time for that. So I'm going to kind of go quickly through some of the updates because I really do want to leave time for conversation and feedback. So let's start with some things that we've been working on. These are things that have come out since the last town hall, and we're actually pretty excited about a few of these features. The first one is that we have improved the search UX, basically showing more information as you search. And so you can see like the last executions, you can see inputs and outputs, things like this in a really clean, usable format. And you can click on any one of these executions that will go directly to that execution. Why is there a lag here? Geez, okay, so another feature we have is along that same vein, we've added this notion of a bar chart for executions, and it just gives you a quick read about the state of an execution and how long it took. So you can see down here, for this particular workflow, all these executions, and the big ones stand out, like these big, tall, aborted ones, or let's say you wanted to kind of zoom in on which were the longest failed workflows. So you can kind of come in here and you can say, oh, okay, what's really cool is that when you click these become filters. And that way you can kind of do a quick comparison between executions. And we think this is going to help with like debugging use cases. Another thing from the last UX, one of the big feedbacks was we want to be able to archive. And this isn't launched yet, but it's currently in development, will be launched soon. And what we're going to do is per execution, we're going to allow you to archive them. And archiving means we're not going to delete something, but we are going to hide it from the kind of the UX. So when you click on one of these, what'll happen is we want to kind of just prevent like mistakes. So we'll have a confirmation step. But if you archive this, it basically becomes invisible to the UI. Again, not deleted. You can always restore. And how you restore is in that same filter UX, we have a toggle. And the toggle will let you choose between, do I want to see like currently like active, or do I want to go back in time? Maybe you made a mistake, want to bring something back, or just like for historical purposes, you want to go and examine some of these archived workflows. Eventually, we're going to add this ability to pretty much everything. Workflows, tasks, executions, all over the site, we're going to have this ability to archive things. And that was one of the big feedbacks we have from the town hall. So we're really excited about this. It should be launched within the next few weeks. Another feedback from the last town hall was having more visibility into launch plans. And so the basic use case is when you're looking at executions, it's kind of hard currently in FlyteConsole to see what did this launch with. Currently, you'd have to kind of go to the launch form, relaunch it, and kind of see what it was launched with. We're going to change that. And for example, on a per execution basis, you can click and see a launch plan detail page that will tell you about which launch plan was used for that execution. Again, this is currently in dev, but again, we're only a few weeks out from launching this, and we're pretty excited. The big one that we've heard tons of feedback about was people want to see a timeline. They want to see for a workflow, what was the duration of each task? And one really cool thing about this, I'm going to show you guys, we actually already have a demo version of this running. So I'm going to open up just a Flight Snacks. And here you can see the new UX, which is awesome. And so let's go to nested parent workflow. So when we click this, And you can even see these executions, and we can like click and see how the filter works. So let's go into one of these, and we have a timeline view. And so we can see the duration that all these tasks took. And I'm even going to show you this in motion. So here we go, timeline. What's going to happen is it's going to show you all the tasks. They're all going to start out gray and blue initially to kind of show the state running or not run yet. And as these executions update, the graph is going to update with it. So we'll wait for, probably not for the whole thing, but we're going to kind of wait to kind of see some of the state changes. So there you see those tasks already have completed. And then we'll give it one more update. There you go. And of course, you can do things like zooming in to different time durations, depending on the size of the workflow. And there you go, it's completed. So we're super excited about this. This is actually very close to release. We're currently working on the PR right now. So yeah, that's what we've been working on. But as I was saying, what I'm really excited about is this next part. So this is the part where you guys can engage us. So we open this up wide open. Anyone can chime in. Let's start with, we are curious as we're developing all these features, again, making sure that we're focusing and building the right things. What are some of our best features? Like, if you have to say, what is the most important feature of Flyte from a UX experience? What do you guys think?
Speak up, people.
I would say to actually up on running a workflow with predefined parameters to pick one manually and override it for testing stuff. It might sound like not so much, but I think this, like upon launching the workflow, when I can manually override some of the inputs.
So the launch plan UX, the ability to kind of, when you go to launch, you can just update or relaunch.
Might not have the right terminology, but yes, I think that's what I mean. Yes, so that I have both the ability to define a predefined set of launch plans, but also that I have the ability to override it when I launch something. I think that's makes it very powerful to treat workflows as yeah, well, as templates, and then adapt them to your needs.
Awesome. And then, so does that launch plan, those screens you saw of the new launch plan workflows, or being able to see kind of what was attached to an execution, is that something that you see as valuable?
It's super useful because, yeah, you need to know then later on what worked and what didn't, right? When you're sifting through tons and tons of executions. And the new UX makes it way nicer to see like what succeeded, what didn't, how long it took, and then you can pick the ones and see what parameters they run with. I think it's great.
Awesome. Anyone else have any like core features that they use all the time, that they just love?
I see Jeev, so I'm gonna just ask him. Hey, Jeev.
Okay, well, we can move on.
Oh,
so this is actually the more important one to me. As we're building all these things, and you've kind of seen some of the directions we're going, what are we still missing? I mean, you guys can pretty much direct us any way that you want. What are some things that you would just absolutely love if you could do, whether it's your debugging workflows or just, you know, performance tweaking, whatever it is?
Role-based access control.
Okay, so like in what sense? Like execution, like to launch something? Or
if I have anyone with FlyteCTL and access to our Flyte deployment URL, they can register, archive, anywhere on the whole thing. It would be nice to say this person has access to this project and maybe only to this domain. Because otherwise I can have someone randomly come in and print secrets from production because they can just register to production and execute whatever. But that's like long term. But it's a thing that was mentioned. Like we went through a security audit when we started Flight, and this was one of the things where they were like, yeah, maybe at some point.
Yeah. Hey, Tim, this is Haitham here. I totally echo that. I think this is not the first time we heard about this, and can you? So yeah, limiting users to projects. Want to ask a bit more about what level of permissions you are looking for, projects and domains, but you are not thinking of, you only have like read access on this project and like write access to that, or like management roles, or like what kind of levels are you thinking about? That's first question. And the second question, I was watching your presentation. It seems like you have limited people to certain domains. I'm curious, how was that achieved?
Essentially by having a separate cluster for prod flight with only one domain, and then not giving out the client secret, only giving it to the CI pipeline.
I see. I guess that's one way to do it. Okay. Awesome.
But effective, yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right.
I had a follow-up. So Haitham, I had a follow-up question on that. So would it be enough to actually have basic role-based access control as a beginning, like just basically like maybe handwritten somewhere with policies or something, with groups and essentially have groups, and that's good enough, right? And basically just project and domain, not like per workflow level and per execution level, because that is where it becomes very, very complicated. The number of entities just keep on growing.
No, per project is a great start and should be.
Yeah. Awesome. And are you using Flight like authentication? Is that, or do you have your own layer on top? Okay, you're using the native auth stuff. Cool. Okay.
What about archive? So yeah, project domain, obviously. Do you think that we should put, once we implement role-based stuff, would you want that on things like archive?
Since it's reversible, that's not so bad. Like if it were delete, then yes, but
right.
Archive probably not.
But I guess if you only have a project level access, then you can only archive that project, I guess. It's still not great, but it's better than random. Like you can archive anybody else's project. Like forecasting team will archive pricing team's project, which might not be pretty well received. I had a more in the UI UX front question because we didn't get this. So we've been thinking about like two interesting directions and things that we are thinking of adding. One of them is visualizing some runtime log information. Like actually three parts in there. The one is just the basic logging, the textual logging that you get, right? And today we only have links to some external log provider. We were actually thinking of getting those logs in line while things are running. Now, and within the security perimeter, right? Like it's like has to be secure by definition, yet we should be able to pull it. So that's one thing we were thinking. But the second logs, by logs I meant is that let's say you're training a model and you want to look at the accuracy or the error, the loss. We could visualize that. Now that does need some work, but we could visualize that with some external systems, and then visualize them in FlyteConsole, or we could give a link to, let's say, weights and biases. What do you think is the preferred UX? And everybody, like even Soren, Jeev, all of you guys, what would be useful to you guys? Does it matter if it's a link? Basically, maybe make it even a binary question. Does it matter if it's a link to an external like website like Weights and Biases, or it doesn't? It's yes or no. Basically, it matters, or it doesn't.
I think it'd be very cool to be able to see it directly in Flight, because if it's a link, I can give it as an output to my workflow. You know, I'll give it the output, so it's a link, and I'm like, yeah, take it. But yeah, seeing it visually, I think would be very important, because yeah, we could integrate something else again, but that's some work that you need to do, and maybe I don't know how complicated it is on MLflow's side, but you know, the visualization, it's quite basic, I would say. Maybe it's a lot of code, but at least the visualization is basic. So yeah, maybe something like that at the beginning.
Yeah. So the way we'll be, I don't think Flyte should completely own that part, because there are many other open source alternatives that do a good job, like MLflow and so on. What I meant was like essentially somehow in allowing an integration portion to integrate like MLflow experience for the visualization, or AIM Hub is another one that we've been talking about with directly in the UI. Good to know. I think we've been thinking, we'll continue to think on that, and we'll definitely bring up some in our next UI UX town hall or so. Third one was the outputs, right? Like today you have like, let's say tabular information or sometimes unstructured data. Flyte knows the format. Like if it's a model, it knows it doesn't really know, but it kind of like has the meta information that it could be a model. Would it be useful to like have custom plugins of some sort to essentially visualize that data set? So let's say if it's a pandas data frame, show the first 10 rows of that data frame. Now that could be security problems, but like let's assume that's available. Would that be useful? Another one is if you're using Great Expectations. I don't know if you are, but like you might want to see the validation result of, let's say, generating the generated data. Would that be useful?
So yes, I don't know if other people have an opinion, but I would like it.
Like a plugin system, essentially. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think some kind of customization. You said customization. I think if you're able to like have a link or different kinds of links to, I don't know, see the data frame, like, or see part of the data frame, or just have a link where you can open this up in the notebook, which where with Flyte Remote, you know, something like this, jump directly to the results somewhere. I think this would be awesome.
Okay, that means we need like a notebook hosting service. But
no,
maybe
I mean this could just be a link to some, because people use different technologies also for notebooks. But just in general, the ability to make more out of the outputs than just like seeing the bucket URL, you know, I think that would be helpful really helpful for certain use cases.
Yeah, that's both of those things is we are actively thinking and exploring. That's why I wanted to bring up, and we are like we think there is a differentiated experience possible here, like essentially up leveling the meta information that Flyte captures about your data, right? The reason why we have a type system is eventually to do these kind of things that literally, you know, have a better visual experience with things, which other systems cannot do because they do not have the type information deeply embedded in the meta information. All right. If no other questions, I think that's our time. All right. Thank you, Tim and Stephen, and thank you, Jason. This was fantastic. And thank you for answering all the questions.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you too.
Thanks.
And
Bye.
the UX looks amazing. Super excited.
Oh,
Hey,
fantastic.
thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.